What's up, everyone, and welcome to Tide Talk, the Rhode Island FC podcast that's for the fans, by the fans. I'm your host, Matt, and whether you're a day one sicko or new to RIFC, you found your home. Every episode, we're breaking down the latest from Rhode Island FC, the matches, the moments, the players, and everything happening around the club. Before we dive in, make sure you're following Tide Talk across all the social media platforms. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, and everywhere you scroll. Stay locked in for updates, exclusive content, and all things Rhode Island FC. If you're joining us on YouTube, please say hi in the chat and share your thoughts as well. And if you're listening in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, please take a second to like, subscribe, leave us a review. It helps us grow and bring you better content each and every week. All right, let's cozy up. Craig Gobert. Dive into this one. As always, I'm joined by my good friend Ryan. What's up, buddy? You've got the cool new koozie. Mine's getting shipped, but it is a Snowmageddon State of Emergency Sunday going on here. So, who knows what'll happen with the delivery on all that stuff. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Nice to be back. Season 3 is upon us.
Pretty crazy, right?
It is weird. I cannot believe that. I mean, look, we got a new logo. We got same bloggers, but same people on here. But very excited about the season and what's to come.
Yeah, so worth noting on that note that this is the first episode of the Tide Talk podcast of season 3 in the 2026 RIFC season. But the bloggers have been active. We even had our double pivot guys go last week with their first episode of the season. So the content is out there. It's flowing a lot on the socials as well. So make sure you're following all of those. And for those of you who missed out on double pivot last week, there was a big announcement with our good friend Craig from Club Collector. The new code, so for all you Club Collector sickos out there, is Up the Tide 26, all lowercase, all one word. Go type that into RIFC Club Collector to get an exclusive pack added to your collection today. Ryan, I know you've blogged a bit, and I'm worried. I was worried that my co-host was turning full-time blogger. But, besides Baby Watch, what else have you been up to during this offseason?
Yeah, I got to say Baby Watch has definitely been the number one thing. And then, making sure he's ready and kitted out for the first month of the season. And then, really putting the bloggers in their place, running up the score on those guys has been really important to me. Double Pivot, we've talked a lot about how one of their episodes last season was the most viewed Tide Talk episode of all time. So, had to really, get them back where, it hurts them the most.
We got Chris P in the chat saying Tide Talk is greater than the Olympic Winter Games closing ceremony on this gold medal hockey Sunday. So awesome. Really thank you to everyone who's taken the time to spend their Sunday Snowmageddon night with us. Hopefully you've got a nice cold one or something you can digest in gummy form or whatever to get you going through this one. But we've got a bit of stuff to talk about in here, and we're going to start with some really cool RIFC adjacent stuff kind of going on around. And we did our collab with Tom Butts Tattoos, so you can check that out. That's the graphic he made for us. He wanted to create a design that kind of brought our logo to life. Really cool artwork, really great tattoo artist. We've got some awesome merch with the stuff on our store. You can go to tidetalkri.com to check all that out. The orders have been flying, so it's been some really good stuff going on there. And then next, our friends from Front. I think I have to say this, and this is no offense to the Defiance and the scarves that they put out, but the sickest RIFC scarf out there right now that you can buy. And it's a very limited run. There are only 50 available. Again, back to Tom Butts, you can go check him out on Instagram. It's at TomButts_tattoo. And you go to Front at Front on Instagram, and they will tell you everything you need to do to order that scarf via Venmo. They'll even ship it to you, or you can pick it up at one of the matches. But some absolute heat coming out of those fellas again to start the season. And then one more announcement kind of kicking up with next week and looking at the preseason match that'll be happening at Centerville Bank Stadium. The Bar at the Bar event, which was supposed to be so you go pick up your membership pack and all that, the time has been shortened to allow people to get into, high motor, a tailgate lot, whatever it is, ahead of that preseason match. So if you're looking to pick up your stuff from the Defiance, your membership pack, your scarf, it'll be from noon to 1:45 to 2-ish at the Guild. If not, you can also find Defiance Vice President Matt Jean post-match in the lot for pickups. Just listen for the train horn, look for the crazy guy running around the train horn, and I'm sure you can find that and get your scarf. After that preseason match. But a lot of good stuff going on in the RIFC community right now.
No, it's great to see. I mean, everyone's kind of firing all cylinders right now. I do like between the merch that like we're putting out, Defiance is putting out, and Front is putting out. It's just becoming like a circular economy where like well, if we ever get money, we're just spending it at Defiance or Front, and like all vice versa. So it's just lovely to see the money just continue to flow throughout RIFC land.
Absolutely. All good stuff. People are saying they cop the scarf immediately. Anytime you see that, you need to get in there, need to order that Tide Talk shirt. They are selling there. There are a bunch of orders on it. And they ship pretty quickly from what I've seen on the order front as well. So you can get our stuff at tidetalkri.com. A lot of really good stuff out there again. But you ready to dive into this one, Ryan? We've got quite a bit to talk about.
I know, yeah. We were on I was on Baby Watch all off season. You were winning Coach of the Year, but there's a lot of RFC recapping.
I don't know if that's happened. An 18-4 season, much better than my expectations.
Listen, if I get a vote, which I apparently do not, it would be going your way, but whatever.
Appreciate you, brother.
But yeah, let's dive into what's going on with RIFC. If you can believe Tide Talk would do such a thing. Matt, do you have the slides?
I do have the slides.
Guys, we're getting slides. Episode 1. This is unbelievable stuff here. So let me put that in presenter mode here. So yeah, welcome back to Tide Talk, where slides rule everything here. So like we said, we have a lot of catching up to do with RIFC this offseason. First up here there was a bit of front office turnover. And, Andrew and Timmy, I think, did a bit on this last week, but definitely want to make sure we touch on a bit. Started off this offseason.
They were gentle too, though. I think we're going to be a little more abrasive.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so first up, we had the announcement that Sabina Feldman, the CMO, she moved on to the Boston Legacy there. We then last Friday, I believe it was, or 2 Fridays ago at this point, I'm losing track of time again in Babyland. But we did hear the departure of President David Pert. And then honestly, I think the biggest loss is we have recently found out that Harry, safety security, extraordinaire is leaving the club. Quite frankly, of the 3, I think this is by far the biggest loss. Harry was absolutely fantastic.
And Defiance 1636, 2025 Employee of the Year.
Yeah. So like someone who I think really went along these like great road trips with us, was someone who always was an escort, made sure we were, safe, secure at all these things, and just a great
Hopefully
person.
His mom's not watching with you calling him an escort.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd mind that. But definitely want to give our big shout out and appreciation to Harry. Obviously, as Matt said, the 2025 staff member of the year, but someone who was just a great guy, and we're gonna wish him a lot of luck at New York City FC. I mean, my biggest concern is Harry addicted to opening stadiums? Because that's what seems to be the case here. So hopefully he can kind of sort that out in the future.
That is a good look, and that stadium does look top of the line.
It looks very sick. I'm not gonna say jealous because I love Centerville Bank Stadium, but it does look extremely cool. But yeah, any places you want to go with potentially the other 2?
We'll start with Sabina. I really hoped that her leaving would be the end of Wicked Good Soccer, but the club has continued to beat that drum. I hate that marketing ploy. I think most people you talk to from Rhode Island realm will say that is a very Boston thing, although Rhode Islanders do say wicked. Wicked a lot, I guess. But I will say that I do hope to see that bit of marketing go. As far as David Pert, you buried the lead on that one. His son Tyler also gone, and took some parting shots at the club on Instagram via a story, with RIFC getting so close to mining diamonds and then turning around when he could not be a more incompetent ticket rep that was assigned to the supporters group, your lifeblood of the fan base. And, just a lot of, I think, do I want to say hate? Yeah, I guess I want to say a lot of hate towards him from the fan base, even went as far as blocking people on social media, used to follow us, used to like our posts, used to comment, all of that, blocked us individually. Just kind of a shady dude.
I just want to know which Matt Hand's blog tipped him over the edge. That's what I want to know.
It must have been one of them. I don't know. But, not at all sorry to see him go. As far as David, I think a lot of the concerns and a lot of the things we've heard from people that we've talked to was it all felt very minor league marketing with him. And, that was kind of his background, kind of his MO. So another one, not at all sorry to see go. I think you always run the risk of grass is always greener on the other side, but I think we can bring in somebody a little bit more competent. I know our good friend Patrick McKenna, who put together the midseason, kind of fan questionnaire survey. I'm lacking the right title for it, but a list
Mid-season
of
report.
Mid-season report. There you go. That was presented to the club, and they basically, did nothing with, and that was in big majority to him. He would not really listen to anyone, from the local scene, and kind of wanted to do his own thing. And that works to a point, but I think with a state and a community like Rhode Island, you really have to bring in the local flair. And I think that's something that still kind of lacks in this club. I think that we look at Portland up the road and we see what they're doing in their community and how you can get their merch everywhere, all their local partnerships, and that survey that just came out. So if you're in the chat and you already took it or just saw it, it was kind of a survey about, what we can do better this season, but it was actually a hidden sponsorship survey. And it was like, well, what airline do you fly? And, Breeze is newer to the area, and people kind of look at Breeze as very much the, economy line. I've flown it before by myself. I don't think I'd fly it with the family. To be honest with you, the plane I was on was, a little less clean than you'd normally find via Southwest or anything like that. And then it kind of circled back to Ortho RI. So I think it was kind of looking at some of those partnerships. And I think, I don't know what the right answer to that is, but I don't think those are really viewed as like big local gets as far as the fan base and sponsorship and things people would get excited about. But, I guess that's kind of another conversation. But, the big news with David Pert that we've heard was the very hostile work environment that was going on at RIFC, even so bad as, him overstepping with, other people, Kano. And, it even got to the point where we've heard from multiple sources that he was kind of escorted with security and a police detail to get his belongings from the building. And, I think that's pretty telling on how that relationship soured and how it soured so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if anyone's going to overstep with tactical stuff for Kano, it's us. Okay, let's be first and foremost there.
But you warn him repeatedly, do not watch our show.
I did. Yeah, that was one of the funnier clips to resurface last year of like, please don't watch the show. But I think my biggest take, and I have to plug my blog. I did a lot of blogging this offseason, everybody. So I did write a blog about it. My biggest gripe with Pert was, well, my two biggest ones. One is just merch. We've talked about it ad nauseum here. Team seems to be digging out there. We have seen a couple new pieces added to the team store. Hopefully we can continue to see some progress. Hopefully we can see a very particular piece of new merch out potentially this week for the team and
be available.
It'd be available. That's going to be the funnier part is, is it announced and then is it actually purchasable, which will be very fun. But yeah, the other thing was just the lack of what seemed like listening to fans, especially the people who are, constantly spending a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money on following this team. And to see, again, that midseason report, which is linked in the blog post on our site, we have heard like almost nothing was done with that report. Basically, it was kind of in one ear, out the other, and to the point where actually some people who are coming around in more prominent positions now are like, wait a minute, I never even heard of this thing. There's a lot of good ideas in here. So hopefully we can continue to see some progress with, the fan engagement, especially, I know Brett Louie, when he was first president, there's like a fan council that was put together. I think they had one meeting or something like that, but something along those lines. Obviously Defiance does a good job advocating for the fan, but Defiance is one part of the fan base. There's also a large part of the fan base who's not Defiance members, who also just are very passionate about this team as well. So hopefully we can find a lot of ways to get both, the absolute supporter, sicko, someone who's probably listening to the show right now, but also the fan who's, maybe not going every single week, but is really passionate and wants to be a part of this club as well. So, will be really interesting to see who they appoint. I do think it is one of those things, third club president in the amount of seasons that we've been around. I think getting this next one right really could do a lot of good for the culture, for driving the right expectations for this club and what we'd all be excited about. But also there's a path where we really get it wrong again. So it's a really big decision. Excited to see what Sean Carey can do in the meantime. I know he's someone who's been around. He's, I think, one of those people who's really been behind the scenes doing a lot of the good work that we get to see on the pitch. So excited to see what he can do in the meantime. But, hopefully the powers that be can get together and make a really good decision here.
I agree with you there. I think what we've heard, kind of some things from different sources about what Sean Carey's done in his early days, kind of stepping up into a bigger role, have been very good, and things that, as fans, we would kind of hope to see happen. Another guy I think we have to give flowers to is Paul Byrne. I think who really I think you've said it before, runs the asset, runs the stadium, and he should have a lot of input. And I think him kind of having a higher level of input and being involved in this time will be nothing but positive. I think he gets it, big picture. Whereas I think Pert was just kind of in and, wanted to wear his suit and those ugly Capelli sneakers and, do his thing. But
I would say my favorite part of the survey today was, have you ever heard of Capelli? And I was like waiting for that next question where they're like, how would you rate this sponsor? And they didn't give me the option to rate Capelli.
I was so waiting for that too. I was like, oh, this next one's going to be good. I'm going to type in the little suggestion box and all of that. But I think at the end of season survey last year, they asked for some, kind of feedback about the supplier and all of that. And I went to town on that box for sure.
I would have found the thesaurus would have been ripe with just how many different ways can you say ass, like just awful ass, just brutal.
Yeah, and it's not even just at the RIFC level. We've heard from so many people at kid club soccer level that Capelli just has issues, around the board, and I think a big part of that is I think the quality is awful. This jersey I'm wearing, the badge is starting to peel. We've seen that with, I know Quadros, I think it's Will's jersey, the badge is fully peeled off. And we've seen that with multiple people. It's just not good quality stuff. It's extremely expensive. And I think you look at what else is kind of being put out in our league as far as jerseys and kits and all of that. And it's Capelli. It's whatever.
Yep. But yeah, overall, I mean, I want to be clear. Some people I saw were worried about this potentially being a big kind of issue potentially on the field this season. I personally not worried about that. And I really view this as an opportunity to, right some wrongs and learn from, the two presidents we've had so far and to install somebody who really both gets my biggest thing is to understand this is a team that they always say it's a team for all of Rhode Island. Rhode Island is a very particular little place. We are a very prideful people. We are a very passionate bunch.
Very angry bunch.
Very angry, and we're very there's little Rhode Island-y things that are very important to us all. So having someone in the leadership position who really genuinely wants to understand Rhode Island as a place, I think would be tremendously important, and I think that would really make it easier for them to reflect that via either the marketing, via the actual in-stadium activation, and just the way that they talk about this team. Like you said, even Wicked Good Soccer again, feels very, very Boston compared to something that is much more Rhode Island centric. So I don't think Wicked Good Soccer is going away. I think that is kind of the thing they've, pushed their chips in on, but I think there's a lot. I know. I don't like it either, but it is what it is. Luckily there are other hashtags you can use, wink, wink, but I think there's a good opportunity here to make this, a fully club and front office that we're all super, super excited about, proud of, and at the end of the day excels and has really high expectations for themselves. That's my biggest thing.
Definitely agree with you. I would love to see a local, get into that position. And I don't necessarily mean a Rhode Islander, even just a New Englander, I think would be good, but Rhode Islander would be ideal. We'll definitely see how that goes. Tim McDuff, the Defiance board member, says that badges aren't Capelli. The team puts them on themselves. The team needs to reach that makes it even worse. The team needs to reach out to Providence City FC and get those TPU rubber material badges they use. They just put a new translucent blue badge out this week. I actually just shared it in the chat with you guys before we came on here. They put out absolute fire, and I feel like every club that kind of uses that TPU material, it lasts longer, it's better. So I think that makes it worse. And he did say, don't get me wrong, Capelli is ass, but the badges are on the team.
Yeah, I mean, and the funniest thing is Timmy's in the chat saying I would pay $150 if we were with Adidas.
That was Andrew Milko said we need Adidas kits, 3 stripes forever.
Listen, as someone who also who just bought an Adidas kit for the team he likes, that's not Rhode Island FC. That kit was also $100, I think, total. Shipped across the pond. So, and not
mass production though. So you got to kind of equate that.
Sure, but $115 for the Ocean kit or the Wave kit when the rest of the league that are Capelli jerseys are $89. It's just stuff decisions like that are very frustrating, especially when you also then have to wait forever for it. It's stuff like that. Hopefully, again, we can right the wrongs, can kind of smooth these things out so that the actual fan experience is not one that we feel like we're just constantly transaction on, and actually feel a part of it and proud of. So
I think that's pretty well said. So we're in agreement. I believe out of the front office turnover 3 that we talked about, Harry by far the biggest loss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very sad about Harry, but I'm very happy for him. It's a classic, like, happy for you, sad we're missing you. But the departures kept coming this offseason, Matt. So in terms of key departures, and I bucketed this as people who played over 1,000 minutes for RIFC in 2025. We see Jackson Lee went to Brooklyn. We saw Maxi Rodriguez transferred almost immediately after the offseason started to Detroit City. We saw Chico go back to Pittsburgh. We have Ame Mabika, who currently is still without a team. And the team announced, while he was never re-signed in the offseason, Mark Ibarra did end up landing with the Las Vegas Lights here. So, Matt, any kind of standouts here?
Yeah, Maxi stinks. I will not sugarcoat that. I think he was brought in, a first team all league performer, double-digit goal assist, to his name, coming from Detroit, highly touted. And I know we're going to talk about a certain aspect of recruitment a little later on, so I'll save that take for that. But I think Maxi was one.
That's how you keep the people on the pod. I like that.
That's it. Like and subscribe. Smash that like button if you haven't already. I think this one is a big red X on Kano, the coach more so than the GM. I think as a GM signing, it was a great move. We really kind of lacked some, creativity at times in that inaugural season, especially pre-Jack P, I would say. After Jack P came back, we were really kind of, clicking on all cylinders, but really kind of missing that dynamic, number 10 or even 8.5 that can play in that a little deeper role and be a deep lying playmaker and create and get some assists. But Maxi was never properly utilized in this team. I don't think the coaching staff, really had a way or an idea, a plan of how to correctly utilize him. It was just kind of plug and place, and then the minutes started to fall off. And I think the tale of Maxi in Rhode Island is one of the most tragic tales of Rhode Island FC in the early going. And, again, I'll talk a little bit more about what that will look like as far as further recruitment, in my opinion. But the Maxi one, I think, absolutely stings the most.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going across the board here, Jackson, I think we all are in agreement that, like, we're excited for him to try to go out there and be the guy in Brooklyn. Excited to see him both next weekend and throughout the season at Brooklyn. But Maxi, yeah, to me that one is really frustrating. I mean, we heard that Maxi was coming to Rhode Island. I think it was October of 2024. Am I getting my years right? So it wasn't even like a last second preseason signing, kind of like Chico, where it was right before the season started. They had been planning for Maxi to come in even before the postseason started, I think it was. So the fact that they really never kind of could figure out a plan or how to use him is kind of terrifying. From there can be disconnects when the GM, when like the kind of technical team and then the actual managerial staff are kind of really apart and disconnected. When they're the exact same person, it's terrifying that like that person was clearly targeting a person for someone to do a very specific job, but then couldn't actually figure out how to execute that within the day-to-day game plan of the team. Chico had his ups and downs here. I think, the Chico Julio stuff at the end was really fun, but at the end of the day, I don't think he ever hit nearly the heights that we expected of him when we made him kind of that really splashy signing right before the season started. Quite frankly, I think we've always had a bit of a hunch that wasn't necessarily like a planned thing, and it kind of threw off the tactical idea that kind of went into building the RIFC initial roster with. So, nice to see him back in Pittsburgh. I don't necessarily know that we'll see how he does there. I'm not going to wish anybody ill will here. Mabika, I thought, was a really good signing. Clearly didn't seem like he wanted to be part of a center back rotation that we'll look at in a second here. And then Ibarra, someone who was really part. We talked a lot about the adult midfield back in 2024. Was a really fantastic dynamic midfield with Harabao, Clay, and Mark. But last season was really kind of in and out. He was really dealing with his foot injury, and then obviously had that kind of disaster cameo, which I don't think he was set up to succeed in the Pittsburgh Eastern Conference Final. So sucks that was his kind of lasting memory we have of him. But definitely someone who was really an maybe underappreciated or underpraised kind of member of that initial 2024 team. Always in the background doing kind of the scrappy work. But wish him all the best out in Vegas.
Yeah, I want to go to a few things in the chat. People are asking, did Rio go to Detroit? He did.
Yes.
Under 1,000 minutes played. That was what this graphic was based on. Another kind of unfortunate tale of a guy who came in as a really good stopgap for a defensively injured and hindered lineup, and he was able to come in, play multiple positions across that back line, and do so very well before being banished to the Shadowland. If I were him, I'd want to get out too. Just totally disappeared. And Ewan saying Maxi didn't have the technical profile needed for this group. He isn't necessarily creative. I disagree with that. 10 goals, 5 assists in the 2024 USL Championship this season with Detroit. Just was never utilized in a role to get the ball to him and drive it upfield and break lines from a deeper position. Like I said, kind of plugged in place all different areas. And I think it was not so much his technical profile, but the tactical profile implemented by the team that made him very unsuccessful in this one. As far as Mark Ibarra, like you mentioned, really sad to see him go. Just an absolute workhorse. Does a lot of things that don't necessarily, turn up on the stat sheet, but does play a very good match. And I think the Mabika one is interesting because it was a mutual agreement to part ways, and makes you kind of wonder, like you said, the center back rotation and what that would look like. We know if Grant Stoneman's on this team, Kano's going to play him. I don't know if that could have been a factor, but I think he is definitely a starting caliber center back within this league for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see where he ends up. I think a lot of us had a hunch he'd end up in like Brooklyn, but there's plenty of teams in this league nowadays, so we definitely will. Yeah, keep an eye out on where that's going. But yeah, man, I think my overall question for you to kind of wrap up this section here was this more departures than you expected?
I would say right on the number I expected, but as far as starters and rotational players that left, I think that piece was a little bit higher in my opinion. I just think that we you look at 5 guys on this list that played over 1,000 minutes, and that's always tough to replace.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's interesting because I think year one we really celebrated the continuity that we were going to get with bringing back basically the majority of the team. This feels like a little bit of a shakeup, a little bit of a course correction, which I'm really intrigued about. At the high level, do I love all of these names on this list not being here? No, but I like that it seems like they weren't afraid to really shake it up if it meant pointing us back in the right direction, the direction that can hopefully get us into a place where we're winning and picking up points more consistently during the regular season. And do I know that that's going to happen? Obviously not, but it seemed like there was at least a very conscious decision to kind of shake things up a bit here.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. And yeah, with departures do come arrivals here. So we had 5 signings announced this offseason. We had Leo Afonso at forward. We had Nick Scardinia in defense, Jacob Castro at goalkeeper. We had Pity Rodriguez at midfield, and we had Gogo Peters at forward here. So Matt, any immediate takes on the arrival side of things?
I think Scardinia is going to be the biggest improvement and signing of the season. When we go back and look at the end of the season, how much I like Stephen Turnbull and how much playing with a proper right back is kind of influential to the way this team plays, and somebody who can also get forward a bit. I think he comes in and solidifies that position right from the get. And we were kind of plugging and placing one Clay Holstad in that position, which drove all of us at Tide Talk and a lot of you across the fan base, absolutely crazy. We know Clay can be one of our most dynamic midfielders on any given day, score a banger, score some free kicks, whatever it is. I hope Scardinia's arrival is the end of Clay Holstad at right back. I really do. I think that's kind of why I'm looking forward, to him the most. I think Pity could be another one who comes in and has a pretty good impact. I would rank them kind of my 1 and 2 as far as what we could see. Afonso, I don't know. I think he's a big wild card. I think he could have a really great season. I think he could also have a why do we bring this guy in type of season. So, just kind of watching film on each of them, I would say Scardinia and Pity would be my top 2. As far as Gogo from Brown, I think that it was we got a little bit of money from Matthew Ndongo, and we're going to bring in another young kid. I don't expect him to really kind of contribute anything more than those 10 minutes we saw Ndongo play. Over under more goals in the USL Championship or any competition these teams play in Ndongo or Gogo? Who are you taking?
Like Matthew Ndongo at Miami FC or last year?
Yep.
At
Miami FC.
I'm gonna go Ndongo just because I think he'll get more playing time. I just generally don't know how much Gogo is going to see the pitch, no matter how awesome his. I don't know if that's a nickname or his actual name, but it's absolutely elite. But I don't know. I just don't know how much he's going to see the pitch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Ndongo could go to Miami and be good. We had kind of heard he was this player they had really been waiting to sign, so I think him kind of going was a interesting one based on that logic. But like I said, for me, it's Sardinia kind of anchoring down that right side. We thought maybe that could have been Danny Rivera.
Hey, he still could be.
And Turnbull left, kind of a bang transaction there. But I think it's Sardinia's. I think he's going to have a really good season. I'm looking forward to seeing him play week in and week out.
Yeah, I just can't get over. Someone popped in the chat to say hi and then to say I'll listen in podcast form. See you later. That's elite. I love that. Thank you, C Sharp.
Well, like and subscribe, C Sharp. Leave us a review on that podcast.
I love the double dip on views. Is beautiful to me. But yeah, I do differ. So I agree that Sardinia to me is the one I'm most intrigued about. For all the reasons that you said. Most of our offense in year one, it all came from the wings. It was the combination of Jojea and Noah on the left, and then Turnbull kind of being a one-man wrecking crew on the right was really how we scored a ton of goals. So last season, with playing people like Clay Holstad, with Amos, they did a serviceable job on the right-hand side, but it truly was a serviceable asking people to do things they absolutely should not be asked to do. And I think we lost a lot of the creativity, a lot of the offense, and a lot of just like the, natural tendencies you get of someone who is truly a winger playing on the wing versus someone who, is used to being in the middle of the pitch, making things happen there. So I think really his arrival, also Danny being healthy, we really never got to see Danny play. So who knows when he's over there, but hopefully having a really strong kind of bench on the right-hand side will allow people who we would really never, ever like to see play on the right to be kind of in a better place for them to actually make an impact as well. Because, not having that right wing back last season didn't just hurt the right wing back side, it also really hurt the middle of the pitch. So, hopefully we can kind of, really, really improve on the right-hand side, but also really improve in the middle because of that one signing. The only one I differ with you on, I do think kind of with, I think Timmy said it in the chat, really do agree that I think Leo could really be a really big upgrade here.
Well, I did say it could be a really big season, or it could be it's not like he wowed in any of his MLS or, MLS, whatever the hell they call MLS too, appearances. But, that's kind of what I'm worried about.
Yeah, listen, it's a fair worry. We'll get to kind of the depth chart in a bit of where he might pop up. I like his versatility and what he could potentially bring, whether that's playing as the lone striker, a second striker, or potentially on the wings. I do like that it gives us some flexibility. And Pity, I just have not been able to really see a ton of him. He could absolutely be that wild card spark that we've been looking for. The fact that he's on loan is really interesting. To me, that I think almost is a really good thing because like we brought him in for another week. That tells me
he's gonna play.
Also, I have to say, Timmy brought this up in the Tide Talk kind of personal chat. But the only thing that concerns me is Afonso took number 8, which is a terrible forward number, but Pity took number 10, which is an elite. Like you're trying to be the man as the attacking midfielder. So to me, that is like a really good sign for Pity, and I'm a little worried about Afonso just from that one sole decision. But we'll have to see it all play out on the pitch.
I'm with Hans. I think Pity can be really good.
I want to be so clear. I don't think he'll be bad. If you had to give me like who has the bigger of the season between the two of them, I'm going to go Afonso. I could be 100% wrong, and I would love to be wrong, or just be like wrong because Afonso had a great season and Pity was player of the year. Like all these things would be great for RIFC, which is great for me.
I mean, you did call out JJ Golden Boot last year, so
I want to be clear. I did that, and I think he got hurt like 2 days later. So I'm just not going to say stuff like that this season. Everybody.
So I think an interesting one here is Jacob Castro. Obviously, losing Jackson Lee and kind of seeing what he could be, as a very serviceable number 2 behind Koke. Do you think we upgraded at number 2, stayed about the same, or are we in a downgrade here?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
no offense to Jake Castro, I've never seen him on a football pitch at all. I mean, Jackson was like we had a 1-1 situation, and that was really, really nice. I think Koke did separate himself a bit last year due to like really fantastic, like should have won the Golden Glove level play. But yeah, from what I have like very lately seen on YouTube and of stats of Castro, like I don't know that it was an upgrade, but I also don't know that you can always have the privilege of what we had with Jackson and Koke. But I also like want to be clear, I've never seen him play. He could be fantastic, and that would again be awesome for us.
For sure. And Justin saying I see Saturday being Lee versus Castro, so we could very much get to see that at the preseason match.
We can see a lot of stuff. Matt, one thing with the arrivals. So I thought it was very interesting. So last season we talked a bit about the Maxi. We just really hated how that all went, and that was us bringing in the kind of league, one of the league players of the year before. This season we didn't bring a single player in from the USL. It was definitely more of the kind of MLS, like we've seen with Mabika, like we saw with Giap, and also some kind of loans from other places as well as Brown University. But what did you think of the change in what seemed like a transfer strategy here?
Yeah, so as I kind of teased in my Maxi departure talk, I think this is potentially a big red flag for RIFC and kind of longevity and moving forward. It could also be a big net gain if this is done correctly. I think that if you look at the way Maxi was, I'll just dub it, treated at Rhode Island FC, and we talked about not really being brought into the team correctly, not really being kind of implemented in a style that would suit him best, and not carving that hole for a first team all league player. And the minutes in the playoffs, I think, would speak for itself on that as well. I think we'll kind of send shockwaves through USL players, USL Championship veterans especially. I think there were a lot of good veterans on the market in the USL, transfer market this offseason. And, I think Maxi's kind of became a cautionary tale to them of, do I really want to try my luck at Rhode Island after seeing what happened to Maxi and, kind of how he was brought in, multi-year deal, all this, not implemented correctly, not played in the playoffs. And I think that's going to kind of hurt, at least for a couple of seasons, as far as those, bigger names that are kind of established within the USL Championship. So the caveat to that is, well, we brought in a lot of, MLS, next players, MLS fringe guys. And I think that's going to kind of be the strategy for a while. But I think the risk that runs there is, these guys don't want to be here. They don't want to be down here. So one of two things is going to happen. They're going to finish out their year. They're going to finish out their contract and, kind of look to move on to greener pastures, or they're going to perform really well and we're going to sell them for a big fee. And, so it's a really fine balance there. And I think that roster continuity, as we've seen in this league, is kind of big. If you look at, teams like Louisville kind of keeping their core together year to year, but adding on nice pieces. You look at the teams that do well, it's really kind of keeping a core together and building and adding on new pieces. And a lot of those teams have built and added on from within this league. So I think that, the transfer strategy of bringing on these players does present a very high yield at the end if these players do perform and they're able to sell them on to MLS clubs or whatever it might be. But I also think that you run the risk of a lot of these guys being here for 1 year, underperforming, and then you got to start again with a player that, hasn't really played on their MLS team, is barely on the roster, and you got to hope you strike gold with like a Morris Duggan situation or a Hugo Bacharach situation. And I think those are going to be few and far between than bringing in players that are established in this league, perform in this league, know the league, and are able to get results and get the stats that are needed to help your team. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's an interesting kind of like buy low, sell high strategy where you're getting people who have a really strong pedigree. These guys weren't in MLS for no reason. A lot of them really, if you look at like their, like Wikipedia's and their stats, like they all were, fantastic in college or their kind of more amateur career, came through, were kind of on that fringe level of MLS and dropped down, kind of actually how like JJ Williams' career started here. So I think it's a smart way to build a team with kind of high upside, especially with, from kind of what we've heard, we usually, I think, are on the higher paying end of the USL. So the fact that we can offer them probably a decent wage, great facilities, playing in front of a great team. We can also offer them things like clam cakes, the beach. So we have a lot going for us, which is really lovely. So hopefully we can kind of keep attracting this talent while keeping what I think is going to be kind of the core spine of the team, which, I think the word legend has been thrown around a lot this offseason, which I think I have some, thoughts about that. But I do think we will see, over the course of the next few years, some true like legend in terms of both tenure and impact, be a part of this team. So, as long as a lot of this comes from like, can we both bring in these talents, but also manage them? I think, Santiago said like, there's definitely some discontent in the team last year. We know that, there are players who are probably expecting really big minutes that didn't really play much last year. There are players playing kind of here, there, and everywhere on the pitch that it was not their preference, but they're great team players. But at the end of the day, like if you can't give these guys a platform to kind of build, grow, and this is a part of their career, so you have to kind of treat it that way. I think mismanaging them and really potentially derailing their career and their enjoyment of the sport is a massive issue. So hopefully we can see a step up here, as we move into this season.
My guys over here trying to sell players on the beach when we're going to be playing a preseason game with 3 feet of snow on the ground.
Dog, I don't want to shovel.
At the end of February.
I'm not trying to talk about it.
Man,
I know Matt Hands is going to be so sad that we brought up the snow in the chat. But yeah, Matt, I mean, we kind of keep talking about it. But looking at the squad this season, so dare I try to go through this entire thing? I don't know that we're going to do that, but this is the squad as is assembled right now. We're going to go through at a position level, but Matt, so looking through depth. So let's start with keeper here. So I have it as, Koke clear number 1 with Meyer and Castro fighting at number 2. I mean, how do you feel about the keeper position going into this year?
I think it's Castro's number 2. I think that'll be pretty clear. I worry about Koke, a little older now, up there in years, as he was when he came in. Injuries the first 2 seasons, and if Castro has to play the same amount of games as Jackson Lee, what's that going to look like? Hopefully, it's no drop off like it was with Jackson. But I think it's a solid position. Like you said, the last 2 years we were spoiled. I think we had a 1 and a 1A. So hopefully Castro can be at that same level as Jackson, and it can be a strong suit for us. How about you?
Yeah, my biggest concern is, can Castro take the post cup game selfie as good as Jackson Lee?
There's only one way to find out.
There's only one way to find out. So, yeah, I don't know if they told Jacob Castro that when he came in, but the post-game cup selfie is a massive part of being kind of this cup rotation keeper. So I hope that he can, step up to the plate, because Jackson left some huge shoes there, but also in his play and even in his interactions with the community. Jackson was absolutely beloved for very good reasons. So, going to miss him a lot. But yeah, to me, again, I said it earlier, Koke, genuinely a fantastic season when he was available last year. So
Sure.
Hopefully he can just stay available and keep up that really great form, which again, should have had him in that golden glove conversation last year.
Before we switch to defenders, Ryan, I just want to remind everyone who's still with us, like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Please. Also, if you're listening right now, a rating and review on the podcast would be lovely. Look at that. We're in mid-season form. I hope the team can start this hot. But yeah, looking at center back. So to me, I'm going to go into this with the assumption that we're playing the same kind of system last year. So with a kind of a 3-5-2, as we've seen kind of deployed, or 3 at the back.
Why is Clay on here?
Listen, to me, I have it as there's kind of 4 guys gunning for the kind of starting spots here. Hugo easily could be one of these 3, but I do think we're going to see him deployed in midfield, as we saw last year. And then I do have to mention that both Zachary Harivao and Clay Holstead have played center back before. I think we have the depth that we do not need to see that, but it is something that has happened, and I have to bring it up. So how do you feel about center back going into the season?
I think it's really deep. I think it's not as deep as last season. Having Mabika in there, and even having Rio in there before he was banished to the Shadow Realm. But I do think the kind of start of
I will say Rio also did get apparently a pretty bad injury. We don't know.
We get that, but kind of looking at this, you kind of in agreement that front 3, the first 3, Yao, Jope, and Frank is the starting 3.
That would be my pick.
Formation.
That'd be my pick. Karifa, defender of the year 2 years in a row for a very good reason. I think he's also really grown as a player since his time here. I think his reading of the game has been significantly improved. I think in year one, there were some moments where he kind of was a little rash in his positioning and going into tackles. And I think he's really ironed that out. And I think his passing has gotten a lot better. So really excited to see him continue to grow and be a really key part of this defense. Giap was a fantastic signing. Again, talk about someone with pedigree, was literally the #1 overall pick in the MLS Super Draft. Didn't work out in MLS, but I thought we saw a really, really good player.
I liked him a lot last year. I'll
Liked him
be
a lot.
honest there.
The one thing I had issues with is every once in a while he'd pass it square across the center back world, and I was like, please stop doing that. But other than that, I thought he was really fantastic. And then
really
Frank,
good service on corners and set pieces
really
too.
good
I think
service.
that kind of went under talked about.
Yeah, well, we talked a lot about corners in a different way, so we'll see. Hey, we'll talk about maybe expectations of the team, but hopefully that is one.
We're talking to you, big chicken.
Attleboro. We saw you guys giving out free sandwiches again to try to get us off the case. We are not leaving the scent. But also, Frank again, another player who like super high upside, can also play different positions, and excited about him. And then we have Grant, who I think can play any of the three across the back and be a good fill in there. So I think overall we have very good high quality depth. A little worried if, one or two of these guys go down, which is what led to the Rio signing last year. So, especially if we are continuing to play with three at the back. But the good thing about this roster, in my opinion, is there's a lot of flexibility, both in terms of like depth, but also the way we could deploy the team. So, more to come there if that does happen, which hopefully it doesn't. But overall, I think center back, I feel pretty good about going into the season.
Yeah, for sure. You got Escoteo Mateo in the chat saying 3 at the back never failed before. I know you want to see a different lineup, Mr. Ryan Healy.
So I can't see the chat right now. Is that an actual thing? I'm looking at only the slide.
Oh yeah, I got the comment pulled up.
That is
so
unbelievable.
With this kind of center back stable that we have, are you comfortable playing the 3 at the back, or would you rather see the 2?
So I'm always going to prefer a back four. And to be clear, the back four that I have always wanted to see actually puts Giap at left back. It's more of like a center back, left back, but I don't know that I agree that 3 at the back has never failed. I watched it failed once this morning. I would always prefer a back four, but sorry. But at the same time, I do think we have a really good depth here to deploy it.
Ryan said we weren't going to do this. Welcome back to RIFC Nation. I'm your host, Matt. This is the old days. Absolutely wild. We've got Matt Hands in the chat on Facebook, who claims he's been shadow banned on YouTube. So he's now in the Facebook chat. Matt Hands is saying Stoneman starts over Frank, unfortunately. What kind of Cuban Missile Crisis is this?
I think he's just I actually don't know what he's doing here, because I think he's trying to lower his
manifest Frank starting.
I think so. I think he's trying to almost hedge the other way. I don't really understand what's happening. But yeah, sorry, Matt Hands. I don't know. I could see that very much. We know Kano loves Grant, and if Grant's healthy, to be clear, I wouldn't be sad if Grant started. I just think Frank has more upside to his game, but not too worried. But moving on from center back, I think this is a kind of an interesting one. So at wing back, we have Jojea and Aldair on the left hand side. I think that's kind of a clear. I won't even say 1A and 1B. I think it's just kind of one between the two of them, and whoever wins out. I think Aldair was almost a really kind of surprise of how number one, how many minutes he played, but also how really great he was last year for us. I think all of us were really, really happy with his performance. Jojea has been a core part of this team for a while now, also signed a long-term deal this offseason. And then on the right-hand side, I think that one's very interesting, because I personally right now have Scardina as the #1 there, with just a gaggle of dudes behind him. So we have, Frank.
Ryan's favorite term.
My favorite term. I don't even know what it means, but Frank plays there. We have Daniel Rivera there. Noah has played there in the past. Amos has played in the past. So no one else on this team has literally ever played there and never will again. But just a lot of people can play on the right, but I think it's Scardina's job to really lose there.
Yeah. Any chance you see Jope getting into the left wing back spot, kind of with the ball that he puts in? He does play that left-sided center back.
Only if we played with a back 4, and he's a left back, and he's kind of more of a marauding left back. I could see that.
Sure.
I don't think we're gonna play him as a true wing back. It's a lot of running to ask a center back all of a sudden too.
True.
He's kind of like a bigger guy too. Like that'd be a lot.
Yeah. Henry Hands in the chat. What's up, Henry?
It's definitely past your bedtime, Henry Hands. But yeah, man, anything you want to go deeper on the wingback spot? To me, I think this is like a pretty clear position on the pitch.
Yeah, I said it a lot on here last season. Really big fan of Aldair. I really like what he does. I like how feisty he is. He plays with passion. I think sometimes this squad is really lacking that. I do like what I see out of him. I think he does put a good ball in. It's just nobody to connect to half the time. But that's maybe by design. And like I said, with the arrivals, I think Scardinio will be, the man to kind of lock down the right side. And I'm really excited to kind of see what he can do for this team going forward.
Yeah, Aldair is a fascinating player because he has definitely great awareness on the pitch, but off the pitch, he has in 1 year in Rhode Island called out my biggest pet peeve of Rhode Island drivers, where people let someone take the left instead of going just straight and making that person wait at the light. So very good awareness both on and off the pitch from Aldair.
He's a very good follow on social media.
Mm-hmm. He's a very cute guy that he does a lot with.
I'll also say he's still only 23 years old too. So, I think I said it kind of in our end of the season review that, I think he's going to be a player that's here for a long time. Really like the way he plays.
Totally agree. But moving on to central midfield. So I think this is a really interesting position, and especially if you think we're playing with more of kind of like a double pivot. Shout out to Timmy and Andrew. But, we saw Hugo really like kind of grow into this role in the end of the season. Clay, we know, can play there if he's allowed to. Amos also has done a great job. And one of my like underrated favorites on this team, Zachary Haravao, really has kind of been in and out with injuries, but I think when he's in there, I feel like every episode he's played central mid, the game, like after the game, we always are just constantly raving about how much like presence he brought to that position. So definitely excited to hopefully see him have like a really healthy season. We've also seen Grant play this position that one game last year where it was like the injury apocalypse. He played there, and then Kevin Vang as well. But Matt, how do you see the kind of double pivot middle of the pitch shaping out next year?
Yeah, I think you really kind of hope for Clay and Hugo to be that starting double pivot, and then you have Zach and you have Amos for depth there. Like you mentioned, I like Zach on the pitch a lot. He really brings in versatility. He's a steady Eddie. I would say similar to Ibarra, but I think he gets in and amongst the goals a little more than Ibarra and can kind of get you some goal contributions. And then if things kind of change in a game and you have him out there, he's got that versatility to also slot back at center back, like you mentioned in this center back depth chart if needed. I think he's probably our most versatile player that we have as far as who we can kind of move around to different positions. I really like what he brings. Amos and Clay, you have to figure if anything bad, hopefully, knock on wood, doesn't happen to Scardinio, that they're right back in the right back conversation again. And
listen, one of those two was not even on the depth chart slide for right wing back, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, but you had him at center back, so whatever. I think this is a strong group. I think kind of similar to conversations that we had at the end of the first season, though. You kind of look at this as like, who can be that more creative spark driving forward and breaking lines and linking up with the attack. It could be Hugo at times, definitely be Clay when he's in there. But, as far as looking at anyone who can kind of link to the creative players, it is a little lacking there. You kind of have more of, box to box guys in this area. And I do wish that we had a player like Maxi who could have, sat in one of these roles and was able to join the line a little bit more freely.
Yeah, I know I invoked the adult midfield earlier tonight talking about Ibarra, but if people remember, we did not at one point, but the end of the 2024 season did play a midfield three of Haravao, Holstad, and Ibarra that quite personally I just thought was like super dynamic and really brought both like a huge presence. Like we just were overrunning teams in the midfield. And to me, I think between these four players, we really have that. It's a very dynamic, very like athletic, very, the ability to both just kind of keep running, keep pressing, keep, really frustrating the other team. So I'm really excited to see what these four, I mean, I could see a world where like two of these guys start and two of them finish the game, and it's kind of a constant chop and change of who those 2 and 2 are. And I think that could be a really great strategy for the season because, these are all guys who are very athletic, can cover a lot of ground, can bring a lot of like intensity and press. So I think there is a way for us to really win the midfield battle, whether it's two of these guys starting, two of them finishing, or playing three of these guys in a game where we really want to kind of, harry a team, kind of the way that we've approached games with Charleston in the past. So I'm excited about this group. I think it's a really high talented group that I think, especially with Hugo, what he did last year, and then what we've seen, from Clay, from Haraval, and from Amos, I think there's a lot of talent here.
I think kind of all things considered and not looking at injuries, would you agree out of this 4, Hugo gets the most minutes?
Yes. Sorry, is Kano doing this or me?
Overall, I guess you can kind of balance it.
So I do think, to me, like I would put Clay having the most minutes, but I don't think Kano's going to do that. I do think, but at the same time, I'm not mad that I think it's going to be Hugo, and it should, like, that's a really great outcome as well. Like,
I wouldn't mind if they were 1 and 2 in this conversation for sure.
Yeah, and not to and I want to be clear, that's not to discredit Amos and Haraval. Like, I also really want to see them play a lot as well. So again, I think this is potentially our deepest position in terms of like who are the 1s and 2s. Like, all of them could be the 1s and all of them could be the 2s here.
Also worth noting on this subject that, per sources, and I know it's kind of been shared around a little bit, that Clay did have an injury during training, did have to have surgery on his hand, should be a shorter rehab than a leg injury per se. But, we might not see him in the early going of the season.
Yeah, I don't really need to see him slipping on the ice that will be on Centerville Bank Stadium March 7th. So, maybe that's for the best at this point. But moving on to kind of the attacking midfielder wing conversation. I think, again, talking about a place on the pitch that I think is really interesting. We saw Kano set up a few different ways last year. We've seen him set up with 2 strikers with someone behind them in the past. So, to me, that is like when he played with JJ, Chico, and Noah all as a front 3. Last year, we also saw him play with something like a JJ with a Noah and a Quazera behind him, with a Noah and a Amos or Clay behind him. So it kind of was in a lot with this kind of front part of the pitch. But if you're looking at more of the attacking midfielder kind of wing sitting behind JJ, to me, I think any of these 5 guys could be part of this conversation. We have Pedro Rodriguez, again, wearing that number 10 shirt. JJ Quazera could definitely play up there. We saw him and Aldair play at the same time last season a lot. We know Busy can definitely can do a lot there. Can get busy. We know Noah obviously will be a part of this conversation, and then Leo Afonso as well. Again, I have just a bunch of people behind this one. We have Clay, Harabow have all done this. Kevin Vang, Amos has played up there, and then I'm assuming Gogo Peters can not just play striker but can also play kind of on that winger spot as well. So I think, to me, this is the place in the pitch that I genuinely have no idea what Kano's going to do, and I think he did give himself a lot of options.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting one. It's which one of these guys can really kind of have a breakout season. This group last season was what really failed to get in amongst the goals and assists, and I think that's why we went so long with droughts of goals from open play, and we were just kind of reliant on JJ or Chico finding the back of the net. Corners obviously weren't there. Thank you, Chick-fil-A. But someone in this group has to step up. Hopefully at least 2 people in this group can step up and really make this offense dynamic and click. Do you think short hair Noah is going to be better than Noah with the locks?
So I was actually about to ask you the exact same question. Is, are you either concerned or excited about Noah's haircut? I want to preface this entire bit of the show is the 2 of us should not be ever talking about people's haircuts. It's just not something that Tide Talk should opine on. Listen, sometimes you got to change stuff up.
Except for Timmy. Timmy doesn't get haircuts. Timmy can talk about this.
Yeah, Timmy's fine. Like, again, the between the 2 of us, I don't know. But sometimes you got to change stuff up. Every once in a while, I'll shave my beard off just to kind of feel different. And, listen, do you think, does Noah gain like half a mile per hour of speed? Because that was a lot of hair back there. I could literally never imagine having that much hair in my head.
I mean, so it could be. We're in the midst of the Winter Olympics with all these skin tight suits and snowboarders duct taping their pants and stuff. So maybe it's a an aerodynamic advantage.
I want to be clear. Any way that these guys can get an edge legally, I am very pro. So if Noah found a loophole in the offseason, maybe he was running and he was like, the dreads are just dragging me down. Like, I love it. I love him just trying to find new ways to.
Chris Rapp here in the chat says, don't love the short hair, but looking at Chris's picture on YouTube, he's in the You and Me club. So, Chris, we're gonna have to hold you to that. I don't know if guys like you, me, and Ryan can actually comment on this one.
So this is the best. Frapp and I used to work together at the Apple Store, so I literally know his haircut. Shout out to Frapp. I absolutely love that you're in the chat.
Cheers, Frapp.
But you are correct. Frapp is in our club as well. So. Again, I think it can only be a good thing. But to your point, I think the more important point is that, last season we saw no RIFC player, I think, get over 10 goals. And I think even combined 10 goals and assists, no one got over 10. I think at least two of these guys on this slide here need to be in that conversation, as well as the next slide as well. So, we had an offense that was as anemic as any offense has been in this league.
Really, sorry. Quadros just killed the chat for me. I'm sorry.
Oh my god! I am only looking at the slide. This is brutal. Where is he?
Don't do it. Just keep going.
Anyway, so basically, I think at least two of these guys, if not three, needs to be approaching that 10 goal plus assists.
And Martin says we just need golden playmaker Noah on the pitch again this season. And I'll be honest. I know Ryan Healy would like to see that.
Listen, my guy. I've been Team Noah since I was fighting the Noah Wars before anyone knew the Noah Wars existed. I both want him to do well, but I also think he's going to have a really big season. I think last year was. Yeah, it was really weird. He's playing all over the pitch, similar to a lot of players on all of these slides. So hopefully we see both golden playmaker, but also I would love to see more scoring. Noah, he's someone who we've seen score really well before, and I think having a bit of selfishness to his game, just a little bit more, I think would be a big benefit to this team, because at the end of the day, it wasn't that he could set up all the chances he wanted last season. We weren't scoring goals. We need someone to actually put the ball in the net. And I think he needs to both be a facilitator and a creator, but also a finisher this year.
Yeah, for sure. And, as we kind of switch into forwards and having this conversation with attacking midfielders, Martin brings up in USL, Chico had 7 goals or assists in all comps when, and Maxi had 13 in all comps, Maxi with 11. So, we're losing that contribution. So somebody in that area and this area really does need to step up.
Yeah, so it's looking at striker. I mean, you brought up Chico. Obviously, he was clearly a big part of this conversation. But right now, it's really JJ Williams at striker, and then one of Afonso, Noah, or Gogo Peters being that backup. And obviously, that is a little scary, as JJ doesn't have the best injury record so far. But how do you feel about striker going into the season? I know a lot of people, if you would have kind of pulled them in the offseason, this was a place that I think people were a little worried about going into the offseason. And I don't know how they're going to feel going kind of into the actual season.
I'm pretty worried about it, to be honest with you. I think you look at JJ's injury history, and him, I think, really needing like golden playmaker Noah to kind of step up and put that ball on a platter for him. And I think he plays kind of better in a pair because he's able to get more assists that way. Could that be Afonso? Sure. Could it be Noah in a false 9? Sure. But I think this is a really big year for JJ. I think, we looked at the coming in injured year 1, picking up that early injury year 2. When he's on, we know he's on, and he can bag a brace in a matter of, 6 minutes or whatever it might be. But he's got to do a little bit more heavy lifting this season, in my opinion. I think this is a big year, as far as him kind of I think he's getting at the end of the contract as well. I know he was on a multi-year deal. I believe there might have been an extension. So this is a big year for JJ. And I don't want to sound too much of a downer on this. I do love JJ when he's healthy, when he's on. I know his hold-up play is elite. And like I mentioned, he can score goals quick and get them in bunches. And when he gets hot, he's a very streaky scorer. But when he is cold, and if he's cold and Afonso's not clicking, this team is really going to struggle to score goals.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely worried about more so JJ's injury record versus like JJ's, his impact on the pitch. I'm also a little worried about Afonso's injury record. I was just like kind of writing up some stuff about predictions, and he had like a really big surgery when he was in college, and then he had a couple big injuries in the MLS. So kind of worried there. Noah, we know, can play at striker, but I don't think it's his. I don't think he's an out and out like number 9. I think he's more of like a wing forward versus kind of more of a number 10. So that could end up being tricky. And then Gogo Peters, we just know so little about. I mean, to be clear, I know so little about Afonso as well. So of all the areas we've covered so far, this is definitely the one that I am definitely most worried about going into the season.
Definitely agree. Definitely have the most concern on this one, and it's a matter of health and also a matter of the unknown with Afonso. Like, we've kind of beat that drum a bit on this one, but hopefully somebody else other than JJ is going to have to step up in this group and kind of join him as a strike force, whether that's somebody kind of playing in a false 9 position and joining, or if it's as legit as starting Afonso and JJ together, or Noah and JJ together up top. But if this group does not have at least a 10-goal scorer in it, we're going to be in trouble.
I would go actually farther. I think we need 2 10-goal scorers in this group.
Okay. I would say 10 goal or assist combinations within this group would be nice. But
I might go bigger. I actually think we need it within. I'm just looking at and to be clear, I'm really focusing on JJ, Noah, and Afonso. I think if we don't get 20 goals between the 3 of them, I actually think we're in really bad shape.
I agree.
Yeah, well, that's a nice downer to this one on.
Actually, Jay says JJ's getting 12 though, so hopefully it's the real Pawtucket Jay.
Everybody, please always verify when you're talking to Pawtucket Jay. I have to say, okay, so we're ending on maybe a little bit of a downslope. The upside here, the Wave kits look absolutely tremendous. Whoever did this photo shoot, A+ job. The boys are looking absolutely sharp as hell. So Matt, I mean, going into the season, are there any key storylines that you're kind of thinking about, want to keep an eye on throughout?
Yeah, and this one I'll touch base on isn't necessarily.
And also in
RIFC.
The chat, please add your stuff here.
Yeah, add yours. I know some people are saying the chat's been a little wonky tonight. I know all of my replies aren't going through, but if I see it, I'll be able to. If I see yours, I'm trying to pull them up as best we can. One of the big storylines isn't necessarily RIFC centered, but more league centered. And we've seen in the last week that the South Georgia Tormenta team that Gabi Ellis was on last season has folded and will not be playing in League One this season. And, that's now another one since we put North Carolina FC to bed. And I think that's a big red flag for this league, and kind of looking at Pro Rel on the horizon. And I think that very much ties in with the collective bargaining agreement and negotiations going on between the USL Championship and the USL Players Association. And I think that right now is a very pivotal time because the CBA has expired. It's kind of under a gentleman's agreement that things are operating as normal as long as both sides negotiate under good terms and in good faith. And what that means is at any moment that could stop, and there could be a potential lockout amongst USL players this season. And I think that would be a damn shame with what's on the horizon for this league and moving forward with the pyramid and Pro Rel. So I think that's a really big thing to keep an eye on. I think a lockdown would absolutely murder this league and kind of put that Pro Rel pyramid to bed before it even happened. So I'm hoping that the league steps up and is able to get something done with the players, get them on better wages, not make them wash their own uniforms like our first opponent of the regular season has to do, and kind of get some better steps in place to, make these players have it be more of a career rather than kind of a part-time thing, because I think this league is going to absolutely explode when Pro Rel hits. But if you look at some of these concerns with players, having to wash their own uniforms and the club not doing that for them, clubs folding now and all of that, I think there's some real kind of questions on the longevity of some of these smaller teams and clubs, and that could really derail the overall mission of this league. So I think right now the players hold all the cards. Like, they are needed and they are necessary for Pro Rel to happen in US, and USL has to step up and make that happen on their end.
Yeah, and I do think it's very odd being in a league where, literally last season we we're about to play in the quarterfinals of the playoffs, and our opponent announced that they were folding after the season was ending. And I know a lot of people made the trip down to North Carolina, and it was just apparently a very odd atmosphere because the fans were basically kind of throwing like a funeral for their team as they were literally in the playoffs and could potentially have home playoff seating the rest of the way. So it's definitely a huge part of this league that they really need to figure out. As Frapp said, there might be just too many teams out there, and it's kind of odd. But the amount of folding we have seen since we've been in this league, I find very uncomfortable. You don't see it in like other parts of the world. There are much better kind of structures. If you are talking about like a pyramid, that these kind of lower league teams are just magically disappearing. As someone who loves playing in the Verona National League and Football Manager, like those teams have existed for a very long time and continue to. So it would, really like for the league both to figure out like everything you just said about the players, like treating them as actual professionals. There are people who come up to me and they're like, "Oh, that semi-pro soccer team." It's like, no, these are professional players. And if you want to actually, not make people think you're a minor league or not make them think that it's not like semi-pro, pay them, like actually give them healthcare, make them an actual employee as you would treat the front office and the other employees there. The other key storylines mine are much different. Like I'm going to be
sorry, I went dark.
No, you went dark, but you're right. And I want to be clear. I'm very team the players in this, like pay these guys, like please.
That's why we try to share out, retweet, post to our story, everything the Players Association puts out, because, I think they are the linchpin of this success in this league and what pro rel could look like in US soccer. And I think that people who are the real soccer sickos are really dying for that.
Absolutely. And a couple of more niche storylines I'm looking at, like our home form is a big one. Like, can we actually score some damn goals? Subs, I think, are another big one. Like, I don't know that we ever really nailed sub patterns, things like that. And just like how Kano is going to use both the like, I think one thing we've always talked about is that Kano loves bringing in versatile players, and it's a really big benefit to the team. It allows us to kind of get through some injury crises, things like that. But can he both, recognize the versatility for some of these players, but also make the decisions that are better for the actual team versus like what is needed on a day-to-day basis? And will always go back to how Clay Holstad was used last season. Like there was never a world where we were a better team when he was on the right wing versus when he was in the middle of the pitch. We kept having these 5-minute spells that he would go back into the middle, then to go back out to the wing last season. And I just never think we'd have these moments where we were all just genuinely so happy and excited to see him running around the pitch. And I remember there's multiple times in 205 last year, Quadros would be like, "It's only going to be 5 minutes, but let's just enjoy this, buddy." Like that, stuff like that. And it's not just like selfish of like, we like watching Clay Holstad. The reason we are excited about it is because we are a better team when he's in the middle of the pitch. And I think there are a lot of players who are in that same boat. So can Kano utilize the team that GM Kano put together in game and throughout the course of a season without having, what has felt like alienating players, really disrupting like the locker room, the players as well. So the player management to me is a massive one. And sure. I think the final one here is, will we fucking score a corner kick or any free kick this season?
No.
Probably not. I mean, we are not allowed to, but especially at home. But I want to be clear, like that is a massive deficiency, especially in a world where like the whole like the talk about the Premier League right now is it's so boring because teams are only relying on set pieces and like long throws and stuff like that. Like there's plenty of footage out there in terms of how we can be better at this. So I think that's what bothers me, is I know Kano is like very much like a student of the game, wanting to pick up the latest and greatest tactics. There's so much good stuff out there on corners and set pieces. Like, please, 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 we need to be significantly better about this, because it is such an easy part of the game for us to actually, become like improve upon and actually impact winning.
I think I'll come back around and give you an RFC, and I'm with Sarah in the chat on this one. I want to hear Psycho Killers more at home. I want this team to score more goals, and I think that's going to be the key storyline of this season. Who is going to shoulder the load of goals for this team? Where are they going to come from? Will JJ stay healthy in that endeavor? And, who's going to supplement? If it's him scoring goals, who's going to add in and get more goals for this team?
Absolutely. All right. So just looking at the next slide here. So Matt, we are going into predictions, and folks, if you are in the chat, this is absolutely the place that we would love to hear your predictions as well. And we're going to you'll see the slide come up. Get yours in right away, so hopefully we can read it out by the time we are done. I know the chat's acting weird tonight, but the first one, Matt, is where does RIFC end up in the U.S. Open Cup?
I'd say roughly the same spot we were at last year. Maybe whatever round that we enter in, we see a win there, and yeah, definitely with Timmy on that one. We see a win there, and probably play an MLS team after that, and maybe that could be it. Would love to see us get the Revs at Gillette and kick their ass, but I think we're kind of looking at roughly the same spot we were at last year. How about you?
This one I actually almost didn't even put in because I was like, I just have no strong opinion on this. Like, we'll probably win the first one or so games, then we'll hit an MLS team and probably lose that game, but play well, and we'll all be happy about it. So yeah, again, playing the Revs would be fun. Again, I thought that was a fun thing. I actually really thought we were going to pull that one off, but
Matt Hands was listening to a Rev space last night, and he says based on their opener, maybe we could beat them.
Listen, Rev spaces are tough. I would warn any of you from entering those, but
I'd highly recommend you stay on the outside of those.
Please shout out to the outsider. So next up, the Prinks USL.
No.
What?
No, they're not shouting that out. We have to go back and bleep that.
Whoops.
You can shout out the onsider.
That's what I meant, the onsider. But next up, the Prinks USL Cup. My one caveat before we head into this one,
yeah. Are we on the same page? Like, what a downgrade in naming this cup.
That is exactly what I was going to say. All right. Anytime that you go from a fun shot that you can take to a tire company, which I will probably never buy tires from, just a really tough downgrade for the league. I mean, we did the live shows beforehand, and even the games before the live shows, we were just in the parking lot. And people just have bottles of Jaeger. Like, I can't fathom that Jaeger sales weren't up last year, at least a little bit, from this, because I drank significantly more Jaeger last year than I had the past 10 years before that.
I mean, we went from doing shots of Jaeger with people in the parking lot to doing them on stage at High Motor and, all this stuff. Like, Jaeger had a good buzz to it.
High Motor had to blow the dust off the Jaeger bottles they had to bring out because of us. But shout out to High Motor, as always.
People in the chat are saying you can't do shots of Prinks.
It's such a good comment. But Matt, where do we go? I think this one's actually a really interesting conversation.
I would like to see at least a semifinal again in this one. I would hope that we kind of put some eggs in this one and get our tires peeling and try to go on to win this one. But I get it. Like, this is horrible. What a downgrade. But,
so
I would say bare minimum semifinal. I would like to see us in this one.
All right. So everyone get your booze ready in the chat. I am actually really concerned about this. So the thing I hate about the USL Cup for whoever is sponsoring it is that you don't play a consistent group. Like, everyone doesn't play the same people.
And that whole tiebreaker thing, the whole thing is just
yes. So just for
not aligned.
So a recap on the structure of it this year is that it'll be all the group winners go through, and then only one wild card, which is the second place team in all of the groups with the most points. So our group is Rhode Island, Hartford, Brooklyn, Portland, New York Cosmos, and Westchester. So where I go into this whole thing about it's really odd that everybody doesn't play the same group. It's that all the USL Championship teams I think are playing all the USL Championship teams, but then Portland actually only has one or two of us. So there's kind of all this kind of wacky stuff going on, and I think a lot of this comes down to Brooklyn. Honestly, is Brooklyn the second, third, fourth, or fifth best team in this group? And also, are they at which stage of the journey are they that the teams that play them first, are they actually one of the worst group teams in the group? And then at the end, are they actually a pretty competent team that will really frustrate us? And we actually have them dead last. Not dead last. We are the last game of our group stage is with Brooklyn. So we get a more seasoned Brooklyn that definitely has signed a decent amount of talent so far this offseason. So I think that's tough. I don't love that our first game is Hartford away. I could easily see that being a draw, and then that really kind of forces a lot of other kind of dominoes to fall. So I actually could see a world where we don't get out of the group in this one, just due to
that in the chat too. It is a tough group based on proximity and stuff like that, and what you mentioned with Brooklyn.
Yeah, like the thing is, I think only the group winner will go through from this group. I could see a lot of like
Sure.
really annoying draws. I could see Portland being frustrating to a couple of these USL teams. They beat Hartford last year in this. So, I could see, or not Hartford, no, they beat them in the US Open Cup.
They
But
beat Detroit.
yeah, and they beat Detroit. Yeah. So I think there could be some like kind of snippy stuff like that. And Portland also, like, they are only playing 2 USL teams. They then get the Cosmos, then Westchester, who I think are better than. So I could really only see the kind of winner of this group going through. And I just worry that, like, I think Hartford away early in the season is going to be really strange. And I just don't know what to expect out of that game. And then I could see Brooklyn at home in July also being a really kind of frustrating game for us. And with our home form last year, you just can't assume that we're going to go through and win that game, which we would need to get all 3 points. So I either think, if we do make it through, I could see semifinals again. I think we are a very good kind of knockout team, but I do worry about us in the group stage.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But like I said, I think if we get through, or like you mentioned as well, if we get through, I think there's a pretty good road because we do have a lot of talent.
For sure. So regular season. So Matt, do we both want to do the thing where we both say we're going to win the Player Shield again, like we did last year?
No, nope. I mean, I think I had us in third last year on my preseason predictions.
I have a clip that says the opposite of that, my friend.
Did I say win it?
If anyone wants to see the Tie Talk last season recap, it starts off with Matt's prediction of last year, and it is Rhode Island FC in this picture, not Louisville. To be clear, I spurned it because I was in the chat saying I think we could win it all.
Yeah. I think we're looking at eighth again. I think we're looking to get in and kind of fight to get in, because I just worry about where the goals are going to come from with this team. And based on last season's home form and those long droughts we had of goals from open play and losing a very large goal and assist contribution total from players who have exited this team, I think scoring goals, I think if you thought last year scoring goals is going to be a struggle, I will gladly say, and you can clip me on this one, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I think goals are going to be a big struggle again this season. I think we're looking at 8th, and somebody said it in the chat, I think we're looking at all road playoff games again.
Yeah, so I have really struggled with this question. I think, so to me, like, Louisville is by far and away I think they're going to win the Players Shield again, probably like very easily. After that, I do think Tampa had like some pretty crazy improvements. I think on paper they are great offseason. I think they are on paper second. And then I think there's this absolute crapshoot like in the middle. Like, I think us, Loudoun, Charleston, Detroit, Indy, Pitt, Hartford, all are going to be in this rock fight all year. Jacksonville beat Charleston in a preseason game the other day. Obviously, can't like over index on preseason, but like, who the hell knows what's going to happen with Jacksonville? So, and then, like I said, Brooklyn, like, they've signed some good talented players. Like, I know people are joking they can barely field a team, but like, you just also true, but you just don't know. Like, we just haven't seen enough of them. So I think there's just this really big mix in the middle. But to me, it's going to come down to like two things. One is, how do we start? We absolutely have been horrific starting both seasons. We kept joking last year that like it felt like the season wasn't being treated like it started in March. It was treated like it started in May. But so far we've seen the team take 21 of 60 available points in March, April, and May in the past 2 years. Last year we only won 1 of our first 7 league games. So it's just a team that has started horrifically. Our home record last year was not great. We were kind of middle of the pack. Our away record, everyone kept saying we're road dogs. We actually were 8th in the league in road record last year. Like, we were not a good road team last year. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, can we start better? Can, as you said, the offense be better? We were abysmal last year. Like, generally, like, we talked about so much, the amount of slides that were dedicated to just the team couldn't kick the ball in the net were horrible. But it wasn't even kick the ball in the net. They also couldn't create anything that would even allow that to happen. But then on top of that, as we talked about in the depth section, I am very worried about some depth in some very key areas. I think we've left ourselves about a player or 2 short. So I do think one huge thing is going to be, we've seen Kano do a pretty good job reacting throughout the season and bringing guys in. And I think that will be actually, like, obviously the offseason, we've done a pretty good job putting a roster together, but I do think those in-season additions is actually where Kano has done a pretty good job the past 2 years. So I think that's gonna be massive, because I could see a couple injury dominoes in the wrong places, really derailing this team. So I am going to go and say 6th. I think we end up. I could see us playing pretty well when we have like kind of our best 11 or 11 to 14 players. But if like we just are struggling in a certain key areas, I could see us. I think the defense is going to be just as good as last year. I just don't know that the offense is going to be significantly better, and that is my concern because that was the obvious end all be all. Even though we did learn in the playoffs that you don't need to score goals to win a championship.
True.
Pittsburgh with the
really
most shameless title. Yeah, most shameless title of all time. Even though they did score their one playoff goal against us, but we won't continue to talk about that.
So you just need a really big dick in front of your goal.
Sure do.
You disagreed with Matt Jean in the chat, who is already starting his campaign.
Listen, I don't want to.
Vice President Matt Jean saying we will host a playoff game this year. In his follow-up, I was laughed at for saying it last year, so I'm saying it all year. A playoff game in Tidewater and a pretzel in my hand is going to happen.
Listen, as we always have to clarify on this show, we would be no happier, especially I would be no happier to have a pretzel. We know I am a strong member of the pretzel party. I love those pretzels so much, and I'm going to miss them these first however many months I'm not going to be at Tidewater Stadium. So
I'll bring you some after the game.
Yes, I have told people this. If someone could shepherd pretzels to my house after games, I will pay a king's ransom for those. Yeah, I would absolutely love that. But Matt Jean, it's kind of getting to a boy who cried wolf situation. You did say this all year last year.
He was very close to it last year, though. I'll give him that.
He was. I was not worried because I was excited about it, but I was like, wow, this is actually like a really sick call your shot situation. So Matt Jean, I absolutely hope you're right. And I hope we win the whole thing. I hope we win the Players Shield. I hope we go undefeated. Like, I would love that. That would be such a, like, we were joking earlier about clips from last year. Like, I pulled together a trailer from last year and it was the saddest. There's a stretch in the middle of just like, wow, all these clips are just depressing. I don't want that to happen. I would love to have a summer full of fireworks and goals and pretzels and just have a lovely time. So let's root for that. But I am a little worried on a couple of key positions, especially striker.
So you and I were kind of the lower ones on this. We saw a lot of 4th, 5th. I kind of want whatever Timmy's having right now, who says 2nd. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to add to that one.
Timmy will say that, and then he'll give every player after the first game a fucking 4 in the player rating. True, so what a dynamic character that Timmy Sclafani is. Martin, shout out to Martin, a 205 legend, undefeated at Tidewater this season would be epic. I could not agree more. That would be extremely cool. Actually, I think the thing we have to preface with that is it has to be undefeated with more wins than draws, because we were really good at drawing games, especially 0-0 draws at home. I would love for us to break the home scoring record. That'd be very fun. But I honestly, just genuine improvement at home would go a long way, because us being a top 4 team at home would really bring us up the standings. Because again, I think last year we were 6th there, and I think 8th on the road. So again, some gradual improvement in both places. Again, hopefully getting just some more goals in a couple places like corners, free kicks, and a couple more chances from open play could really do the job, because the defense is going to give us the opportunity to do that. So yeah, more to come there.
For sure.
All right, and then the final big slide here, Matt, playoffs. So we both have us going into the playoffs, which is good. This is going to be a very awkward slide if one of us did not have us in the playoffs.
That would have just went off camera. I'm going to go with we'll win our first round matchup. We'll pull the upset per usual, per RIFC culture, and then dip out in the second round. I don't think we get to another Eastern Conference final this year.
This is awkward. I have the exact same thing written down. This is hard. So I would say these past 2, especially predictions, and even the Prinks Cup are hard, because the one thing that's difficult about this roster right now is because we've had so much turnover and we brought in so many guys that are not like USL people. Like, we just don't. There's a lot of like really big upside, but also really a lot of unknown that we just don't know. Like Afonso, Pity. Scardina, I think we're pretty convinced Scardina is going to be good, but like we don't necessarily know that. So, it's going to be really interesting. There's a lot of like talent in this roster, and if Kano can get the most out of it, we really could be a fantastic team. I just worry about the week to week consistency of getting the best out of this, and not, not losing kind of the plot mid-season, which we've seen happen a couple of times. And also just not every single game needs to be taken seriously, and we've seen like that not always happen. So all these things I'm in the chat, like Eastern Conference Final, like I genuinely would love that again.
And I'll say, I know we have the same opinion there, but based on that, I would love to see what the chat is saying. I just feel like my expectations, kind of based how last season went, and kind of what we lost and the unknowns of what we brought in, I'm not too inspired by it.
I mean, Sean Buxton is just like over the moon because Maxi's gone. Like that's a clear reason for him to be so excited. But the thing that's hard, right, is like we've gone to the Eastern Conference and the finals 2 years in a row, and that is like a very that's pretty like unbelievable. And I worry, like I think year one we deserved to go as far as we did. Last year, holding Charleston, which was a very heroic feat. But like anytime you go to PKs, like it's a real crapshoot. And then for your opponent in the semifinals of your conference to declare that they are no longer going to exist next year, I just don't. I kind of hope that doesn't happen this year because I just don't want to see teams folding mid playoff.
Kind of a free hit.
That was kind of a free hit. Again, everyone who was at that game said the atmosphere was like the weirdest atmosphere of all time. But at the same time, right, like anything can happen in a playoff and a knockout. Like again, Pittsburgh scored 1 goal and won the championship, so anything can happen. We obviously haven't seen enough because we haven't seen this team play to feel unbelievably confident that they could go and do it all because there's so many unknowns in this roster, both good and bad. We don't know, and also the league doesn't know what to expect, so it could be unbelievable.
Yeah, and we got Pawtucket J with 6th to 8th place. I like Booth Hill Brewing's comment. They need to start and stay consistent rather than wasting their energy and playing catch up for the entire season.
Yeah, the season cannot start in like September, like it has. Like it cannot.
Yeah, like it has.
It cannot. And even last year, we saw it like a little glimmer of like, oh wait, the "Are we good" thing, which became like a bit of a meme. Like it actually kind of fizzled out pretty quickly after that. Versus the year before, we truly, genuinely got better, and there was also like an understandable reason why the team would not all of a sudden, but gradually get better throughout the season. They had never played together. Last year, there was no excuse for why that season happened the way it did. So yeah, I mean, again, hopefully Kano's been cooking up some really interesting new stuff, and I'm excited to potentially see it Saturday if I am able to go to that game. So yeah, more to come.
And we've got our friend, the ghost of FQB, saying, I'm saying 5th because fuck it, why not aim in the middle and rage if we sit in the bottom 3rd and celebrate if we go where Timmy thinks. I like that. That's a sound strategy, FQB.
Sure.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Healy? Any final thoughts?
That is the last slide.
Well done. Slides on the first episode. What a treat.
Believe it? What a treat. And usually, I mean, the nice thing is slides are usually like the first time something bad enough is happening that we have to put slides about it. So happy it could just be some, up and down slides. We're just talking about stuff.
Oh, it was very good. Very well done to my esteemed co-host there. Still a lot of you in the chat and on the stream. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you are not already. But I think it was a fun one. Feels good to be back in the groove. Hopefully we see a bunch of you Saturday at the preseason match versus Brooklyn. Wear your ski clothes, and hopefully everyone stays safe and with power over the next few days. You might not get out of your driveway until Saturday, so interesting to see how this whole week will play out for sure. But definitely want to thank everyone in the chat who took the time to join us. It was a little wonky, so if we didn't get your comments up today, I apologize for that. We'll try to have that worked out for next time for sure. Any parting thoughts, Ryan?
No, I mean, I know we were kind of up and down this episode, but just generally so excited to be doing this again, to be, on the cusp of a new season. Anything can happen. And again, this is a really good core group of players. And I think it's just really, can we get the most out of them? Can we, see some tweaks over the offseason that'll really spark, especially the offense? And then just, again, excited to just be part of this community. There's so many, great people out there, both the people in the chat, people in Defiance. And if you're not a Defiance member yet, there's still plenty of time to join before the season starts. I think it's like $30 for the membership. It goes a long way, even if you don't want to be, part of the hooliganism. I think one person on the blog about the Pert departure read the actual midseason report that Patrick put out and was shocked at how much like work Defiance does. And that is just a one like visible example where there's so much happening behind the scenes. So you don't have to be in the mix to be a Defiance member. You know, you get the scarf and you get to be part of the group, even just, you know, by paying that small fee. So, you know, come over, please say hi. And it's a great group to be a part of. And then, yeah, if you ever see any of us at games, like always come say hi. It's a real honor and privilege to be part of this community. And yeah, just excited for another year with you all.
For sure. And like Ryan said, come say hi. We do have new stickers with the new logo on it. So if you're still rocking the old one, make sure you find us. And like Booth Hill Brewing said, also F this snow for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And Defiance 1636 Vice President Matt Jean chimed in $35 and can buy them at the bar event Saturday at the Guild from noon till 2. Or you can find that crazy guy with the train horn in the parking lot after the match and do it from there. But
I mean, what a Saturday that you could have where you could go to the Guild, have a couple of beers, join Defiance, and then walk over to the stadium and watch the most thrilling preseason match that any of us have ever seen.
Done.
What a Saturday, guys.
It's good stuff. Bust out the ski clothes. But that'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook for daily social media content. Click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt, from my good friend Ryan. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Tide.
Up the Tide.